Hi there, good evening. Hope you had a great Sunday. And now it's time to look forward to the coming week. Welcome back to this week's edition of Looking Forward. The show is about stories that are shaping up over the coming days and weeks. News that is developing and will have consequences for your life and mine and impact our choices. Stories that shape India's and world's politics and economics going forward. So let's get going. Tonight's edition packs a punch with 4 big news developments that are to take place over the week and beyond. Story number 1 takes you to the battleground Bihar. As campaigns have picked pace, contours are becoming clear. Promises galore from all sides. And people of Bihar in a problem of plenty with at least 4 fronts. We get you the latest on what's happening there over the coming week. Story number 2 is on ISRO's launch of a cutting-edge military satellite dedicated to the Indian Navy. The CMS-03 is going to be India's eyes and ears in the sky to monitor a vast swathe of ocean from the Gulf to the Malacca Strait, showcasing India's strategic reach in space. Story number 3 is on the ASEAN Summit that began today. The pillar of India's Look East. Southeast Asia is the 4th largest trading bloc of India. On the sidelines of the ASEAN Summit would also be India's standalone summit with the grouping. We look at the takeaways. And finally, story number 4 is on the big diplomatic event likely to take place in Busan of South Korea, where President Trump might have his first face-to-face meeting with President Xi Jinping of China. All eyes on the trade war takeaways from the meetup. So we give you the lowdown. Let's begin, as always, with the headlines first. Prime Minister Modi virtually addresses the 22nd edition of ASEAN-India Summit, says India is standing pole in global policy and not just a trade partner, but a cultural ally. While the PM couldn't make it to Kuala Lumpur, the message is consistent. India is looking east and acting towards it. Big buzz in the national capital as the Election Commission gears up to announce a nationwide special intensive revision of electoral rolls. 5 poll-bound states on top of ECI's priority list. All eyes on Assam, Kerala, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. Sources say 10 to 15 states and UTs to CSIR. 21 Maoist cadres, including 13 women, surrendered in Chhattisgarh's Kanke district today, handing over 19 weapons, including 3 AK-47s, 2 INSAS rifles, 4 SLRs, among various others. The crackdown on Red Terror continues just days after 210 Maoists had surrendered last week in Bastar. 10 days to phase 1 of Bihar elections. Jan Swaraj Party Chief Prashant Kishore ups the ante on JDU and the RJD, says Tejashwi himself can't remember all the schemes he has announced. Issues a challenge, says JDU won't even win 25 seats in Bihar this time. Pakistan pokes at Afghanistan amidst the fragile ceasefire on the Durand line. High-intensity negotiations in Istanbul, Turkey, underway on securing a lasting ceasefire. But reckless Khwaja Asif, the Pakistani defense minister, says if the talks fail, war will be inevitable. Trump begins the first leg of his 5-day tour to Asia and Malaysia. The US president oversaw the signing of a ceasefire agreement between Cambodia and Thailand. Trump is in Malaysia to attend the ASEAN Summit, and his next stop is in Tokyo to meet the new Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. Chairman of Pakistan Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee General Sahir Shamshad Mirza called on Bangladesh's Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus. What's cooking? The top Pakistani general discussed bilateral trade, investment and defense cooperation between Bangladesh and Pakistan. Yunus once again shows his true colors in the name of reform. All right, friends, let's get started. Election campaign is in fact peaking in Bihar. Even as people come out of the Chhath festivities this week, the battleground Bihar has intensified with clear contours emerging. Prime Minister Modi has hit the ground as the chief campaigner for the NDA, even as the opposition Mahagathbandhan sought to fox the ruling alliance with announcement of Tejashwi as CM face. Does it make for a masterstroke or a liability? Going forward, all the parties would dig in the trenches and leaders would go all out to woo the voters. The people are watching which side their bread is buttered as first phase of polling on November 6 nears.
पूरा बिहार कह रहा है फिर एक बार एनडीए सरकार।
अरे मोदी जी फैक्ट्री लगाइएगा गुजरात में और विक्ट्री चाहिए बिहार में।
जंगल राज वालों को दूर रखेगा बिहार।
अपराध चरम पर चला गया, अपराधी बेखौफ घूम रहे हैं।
ये जमानत पर चल रहे लोग हैं और जो जमानत पे है वो चोरी के मामले में जमानत पे है।
The stage is set for November 6th, first phase of Bihar elections, and each side is claiming victory. But who has the edge?
The Bihar BJP win will ensure downfall of Hemant Soren government. BJP winning in Bihar will also end the rule of Siddaramaiah in Karnataka.
Jansuraj, as Prashant has been doing over last 10-12 years, earlier used to make parties win. This time he is going to make people of Bihar win, and Jansuraj will play that role of kingmaker where people of Bihar would emerge as king.
It's a youth Tejashwi versus Nitish Kumar. You're not very sure about him. He's on the wrong side of the age.
The voter is watching the campaign as the decibels increase. Prime Minister Modi entered the fray as the chief campaigner of the NDA.
मुझे आपको याद दिलाने की जरूरत नहीं है, हजारों करोड़ रुपए के घोटालों में ये जमानत पर चल रहे लोग हैं। जमानत पे, और जो जमानत पे है वो चोरी के मामले में जमानत पे है। अब ये चोरी की इनकी आदत ऐसी है कि अब जननायक की उपाधि की चोरी में जुटे हैं।
Clearly taking the battle into the RJD camp from the word go. The Mahagathbandhan sought to project a picture of unity, rallying behind Tejashwi as the CM face.
It has become a Tejashwi versus who, because NDA's face is rather blurred. Nobody knows whether Nitish ji is a definite face or not. Nitish ji is on the wrong side of the age. Tejashwi is relatively very young and he carries a bit of credibility also, particularly among the aspirational youths as well. So I think Tejashwi has an advantage here.
Is that a masterstroke or a liability? That is the question.
BJP nor any NDA partner never made any commitment before the election, whether it's Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, or for that matter Haryana. So therefore, yesterday Prime Minister also projected Mr. Nitish Kumar. Under Nitish Kumar's leadership, there is no, even today, Mr. Sanjay Daw, the leader of JDU, has categorically said that Nitish Kumar is going to be the face of BJP and NDA alliance. Therefore, there is no confusion, but Congress is making the confusion. My counter question is, how many chief ministers Mr. Tejashwi Yadav will have? 6, 7 deputy chief ministers? Today he says Muslim chief minister. Tomorrow Congress will ask one, and Mukesh Saini has become, therefore 6 deputy chief ministers in Bihar. So it's an atrocity. There's more than a jungle raj.
The jungle raj jibe gets a rebuttal.
Tejashwi has a legacy of Jungle Raj, but it's a legacy. You can't blame Tejashwi in person for Jungle Raj. And that was 20 years long back. You see, NDA's campaign till now has been, going into the past by invoking those jungle raj, this corruption, etc., and the Bahubali thing as well. But Tejashwi's campaign, if you have noticed, it centers around 20 months from now on, not 20 years back, right? And he has a credible face among the youth, the aspirational youth of Bihar, who faces a jungle of unemployment, and they have a crisis of opportunity. So this way, I think jungle Raj narrative may work among very few older electorates, not among the youth, as I would say.
And then, what of missing Rahul Gandhi?
The Bihar election is very tough. Especially Mr. Rahul Gandhi has made it more tough. He did not attend that press conference of Mr. Tejashwi Yadav, and they sent Ashok Gehlot. From that, the story starts. The youngsters do not believe Congress. Youngsters do not believe Tejashwi Yadav for his jungle Raj. Second thing, as a convict, as a person who is under CBI inquiry, Lalu Yadav was absent from that press conference, but today he is addressing the public meetings also. Why should you adopt a double standard? Therefore, young voters are perplexed. Young voters, definitely young voters are going to prefer BJP. On Nitish Kumar's popularity is on the high.
Even as analysts feel it was a mistake.
Yes, it was a big surprise that after being on the roads for 16 or 17 days, along with Tejashwi, he almost left Bihar. I think that was a mistake, a blunder, I would say. But after Tejashwi's name being finalized for the CM seat, I think they have made some mend, and I think they hope for retrieval. Still, I will like to see whether they do joint campaigns or not.
Come Congress's feeble defense.
Rahul Gandhi was not there when seats sharing was being discussed in Patna. But Modi ji was also not there when allies of NDA were discussing about the seat sharing. So why anybody expect that Rahul Gandhi should have been there? And as far as campaign is concerned, it was only Rahul Gandhi who has taken Padyatra and Yatra in Bihar continuously for more than 15 days. It was the campaign of election. It was for the purpose of election. It was a call for the people of Bihar to come out to oppose Bharatiya Janata Party and support this alliance India. So these are not important questions. Important questions are, for last 15 years, what you have done.
On those issues, enter the third factor of Bihar politics in 2025, the Jan Suraj Party.
भैया सब कुछ खिसक रहा है, नीचे से जमीन खिसक रही है, कुछ बचेगा नहीं। आप मुसलमान और हिंदू की बात कर रहे हैं,
रणनीतिकार रहे हैं आप, जेडीयू को 25 से कम बता रहे हैं, आरजेडी के लिए क्या कह रहे हैं?
अरे हमको नहीं मालूम है, जदयू को 25 से कम आ रहा है।
25 से कम आ रहा है, ठीक है, चलिए।
It's quite unfortunate for us as Bihari that we never had a political credible alternative. Bihar's politics largely has been dominated by this, you can say duopoly of two Mahagathbandhans, NDA and India and Congress and Rajat Gathbandhan. For the first time, Biharis has an option to choose from three options: NDA, Mahagathbandhan and Jan Suraj. So it's a litmus test rather for Biharis than for Jan Suraj if they want to choose a tried and tested model or a model which has ensured that Bihar is under chronic poverty, and rather choose a people's good governance which has a plan and vision for the Bihar for the next 10 years. So actually it's not on Jan Suraj to be a credible alternative. It's on people of Bihar to choose a Balu mafia or a land mafia or the best lawyer or the doctor or the social reformer from their constituency.
Congress finds national consequences in Bihar polls.
बिहार चुनाव खाली बिहार वासियों के लिए नहीं है बल्कि देश के लिए है। जो हालात देश में बन गए हैं, पूरा मुल्क उम्मीद करता बिहार से, क्योंकि बिहार के लोगों का इतिहास शानदार रहा है, राजनीतिक रूप से भी, सामाजिक रूप से भी, सोशल सिक्योरिटी के रूप में भी, गरीबों के लिए भी।
But in favor of the BJP.
The Bihar BJP win will ensure downfall of Hemant Soren government. BJP winning in Bihar will also end the rule of Siddaramaiah in Karnataka. BJP will also ensure that new faces in the union cabinet. Therefore, Narendra Modi is pinning his hope on Bihar. Bihar is going to give a national impetus.
But the BJP is stepping on the gas, with Prime Minister expected to do a roadshow in Patna on November 2nd, just ahead of the first phase of polling.
Development means NDA. The credibility of the leader at the national level, it's the Prime Minister, and at the state level, it's Nitish Kumar, is no match for Rahul Gandhi or, for that matter, Tejashwi Yadav. So definitely, it is going to be a win-win situation. And mark my words, in out of these 121 seats, more than 100 will be won by the NDA. Prime Minister Modi is not a brand in Bihar. He's an element of trust. He's an element of faith. He's an element of prosperity. And secondly, BJP is a very organized party. We have an organization set up on all the 92,000 booths. And this is going to be a big advantage.
Jan Suraj think they would be kingmakers.
Jungle Raj of 1990 to 2005, and then this Adhikari Raj from 2005 to 2020. So definitely they are going to come back and choose Jan Suraj, and that's why both this Gathbandhan and especially the ruling dispensation is in fear that if they come back, they will vote for Jan Suraj. And that's why they are creating all kind of obstacles so that Biharis don't reach on time or people don't reach festival on time. They decide to rather stay there because there is no organized transport system which can support their coming back to families, celebrating this festival with them in a dignified way. So they are not going to forget this misery overnight. They are going to come back no matter when they reach during the festival, they reach after the festival. They are going to come and choose people's good governance rather than a party or family's governance, which they have been experiencing and going through this misery and pain over the last 35 years.
A charge rebutted by the BJP with this video showing Vande Bharat trains going to Bihar playing Chhath devotional music. People of Bihar are praying for Chhath and watching the campaign closely before they decide on November 6th, the phase 1.
Friends, in a defining moment for India's space and defense frontiers, ISRO is all set to launch the CMS-03 military communication satellite, known as GSAT-7R, on November 2 from Sriharikota. This isn't just a satellite, it's a statement, a 2650 kilograms leap of technology, designed for the Indian Navy, empowering fleet-to-fleet communication and giving India total maritime dominance from the Gulf of Aden to the Andaman Seas. Here is more on the historic launch mission of ISRO this week.
After the successful launch of the world's most advanced Earth monitoring satellite NISAR in July,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All L40 engines generating nominal thrust. S139 motor ignited. 5 seconds.
On November 2nd, India prepares to open a new chapter in space-based defense dominance. India is all set to launch LMV-3 heavy lift rocket, which carries the CMS-03 satellite, the most advanced military communication satellite India has ever built.
This GSAT-7 is a multi-band communication satellite in 36,000 kilometer orbit. When you say multi-band, it has band for voice communication, it has band for video communication, it was band for inter-satellite communication applications. It has C-band, KU band, S band, and as well as the amateur band of VHF. All the 4 bands are called as the multispectral and satellite, and this satellite had been used for communication in the ships, between the ships in terms of voice communication, video communication, and also the navigation purposes. This had been the backbone of Indian Navy, as it has been claimed by ISRO, and this is a user-specific satellite which has served its purpose.
Funded by the Ministry of Defence, this 7-year mission will give India's Navy and Tri-Forces unmatched connectivity, encrypted networks and maritime eyes that will never blink. Designed as the successor for GSAT-7 Rukmani, CMS-03 expands communication coverage from the Arabian Sea to the Indo-Pacific, linking surface ships, submarines and aircraft under one secure digital web. Experts call it the brainstem of India's maritime grid.
CMS, the combat management system, it has been developed by the Indian naval scientists who work at the behest of the Research and Development Organization, that is DRDO, and its short name is WESI. It is being developed by our own scientists, and it has been in works for a long time. Because the weapon systems are changing, and therefore the data which are handled and required to be controlled, they also keep changing. So as a result, the CMS also changes. So because of the new weapon systems, new radar, which are becoming more and more indigenous, the ballistic data, the control data, all that keeps changing, which our scientists only convert it into algorithms. It is fed into the CMS, and our own system is capable of engaging the weapons, engaging the target. Now the second big advantage is, because it is our own system, we shall not be sort of susceptible to jamming. So it will be on our own.
Operation Sindoor has proved that satellites aren't passive observers. They are force multipliers during the conflict. ISRO's satellites worked 24/7 during Operation Sindoor to guide aircraft, radar and tactical units in precision coordination over both land and sea.
Specifically when it comes to the Operation Sindoor type of a mission, where the satellites and the space-related assets have played a major role in terms of successful execution of various parameters and the targets for the Army, Navy and the Air Force. In such applications, there are about 53 satellites which are in orbit, which are operational by ISRO, and which is the assets of the country, and at least about 25 to 26 satellites have been operational in terms of supporting the Indian strategic sector.
With CMS-03, India extends that success to the seas. Its geostationary network would plug into Indian Navy's NAVIC and DRDO defense data grids, creating a secure inter-service digital ecosystem, from command rooms to carrier groups.
Op Sindoor has taught many lessons, and therefore I don't wish to go into detail. But use of satellite communication, we have our own satellite system called the NAVIC, which is a navigation satellite, and it is good enough for the Indian Ocean region and Indo-Pacific. At the moment, all satellites are not up, but you require just about 3 to 4 satellites to get a proper position. And NAVIC system was used by the armed forces to guide the BrahMos missile onto the target. So As you know that they had a window of 23 minutes. In those 23 minutes, basically the airborne early warning aircraft was airborne, and it has successfully jammed all the radars, the air defense radars, on those 9 airfields on which the attack was carried out. Also, as you know, that the air defense system of Lahore was actually destroyed, and therefore Lahore and Karachi were out of loop. So I would say that the biggest lesson is that we must rely more on satellite communication, more on satellite navigation, but for that the DRDO, the ISRO, they will have to work absolutely hand in hand.
CMS-03 also marks India's entry into a very small global elite. Only few nations have operational military communication satellites of this scale.
European Union has its own satellite communication. The Japanese have its own satellite communication. They have hired satellite channels from the US or maybe from European Union, and we have our own satellite channel. What is unique is that you cannot interfere with this data, because we have our own codes, we have our own satellite, and the frequencies are known only to us on which is being downloaded. So that is one. But second point is, very important point, is that the satellites can be shot down, and all these communication satellites, the position of them is known to the whole world. And though there is a treaty that communication satellites will not be destroyed, but one doesn't know what will happen in the wartime. And therefore, there are alternate methods. There are 2-3 more satellites in which very similar antennas have been given. Some of them are also being used by the Army now, and some are being used by the Air Force. So primarily naval requirement was more because the Navy operates away from its borders quite far into the sea.
Backed by 52 planned ISR communication satellites by 2026 under the Space-Based Surveillance 3 initiative, CMS-03 is just the beginning of a connected defense sky. From the depths of the ocean to the silence of the space, India now sees all, commands all, and protects all, because in the new age of warfare, India's sky is no longer the limit. It is our shield.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All L40 engines generating nominal thrust. S139 motor ignited. 5 seconds.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the 2025 ASEAN Summit is unfolding in Kuala Lumpur amid cheers, handshakes, and high-stakes diplomacy. While Trump is attempting to steal this spotlight with his peace accords, East Timor, or Timor-Leste, has joined the ASEAN family. China is upgrading its free trade agreement with ASEAN. And Prime Minister Modi has delivered only a virtual address, with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar attending in person. As Beijing and Washington both swoop in for influence in Southeast Asia, will just looking east this time be enough for India's regional ambitions? Let's take a look.
The 2025 ASEAN Summit is already making global headlines.
But on behalf of the United States, I'm proud to help settle this conflict and forge a future for the region where proud independent nations can prosper and thrive, safety, security, and peace.
While Trump is busy signing his peace deals, this one between Cambodia and Thailand, the ASEAN family is expanding with its new 11th member.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year, ASEAN and Timor-Leste have come a long way in welcoming our neighbor into the ASEAN family.
Today, history is made. Timor-Leste has been admitted as the 11th member state of ASEAN.
The Chinese are also in town, with trade war talks running high on adrenaline in the background ahead of the Busan summit between President Trump and Chinese President Xi. And while Trump's presence is bound to bring the trade at the center of the table for conversation, Prime Minister Modi has opted to attend the gathering virtually.
आसियान भारत की एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी का मुख्य स्तंभ है। भारत सदैव आसियान सेंट्रलिटी और इंडो पैसिफिक पर आसियान के आउटलुक का पूर्ण समर्थन करता रहा है। अनिश्चितताओं के इस दौर में भी भारत आसियान कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप में सतत प्रगति हुई है।
The implementation, the dynamic implementation of India's Act East policy. It is a policy which is part of India's foreign policy, an integral part. It has grown over the years, and I think we can say that the comprehensive strategic partnership linking India and ASEAN has been flourishing well. Of course, there is a pressure to keep finding new sectors, new initiatives, new programs, and that is an ongoing task. For this year, I would like to simply say two things. One, ASEAN now will become a 11-member state grouping. East Timor is joining the grouping this year. So we will have to pay some special attention to the new leader, to the new member. And at the same time, all the sectors where India has an extra edge, whether it is health, technology, digital transformation, India will have to continue making very meaningful offers to ASEAN partner states.
ASEAN continues to remain a key trading partner to India. With India-ASEAN trade agreement in place, India has over $121 billion in bilateral trade with ASEAN member nations. But the trade deficit is rising rapidly to $45.2 billion as of 2024-2025. With China keen to build 3.0 version of its free trade agreement with ASEAN and India opting out of the RCEP agreement, the challenges are only multiplying.
The signing of ASEAN-China Free Trade Area 3.0 on 28 October will mark a new chapter in our partnership. Beyond ASEAN Plus One framework, we are accelerating the regional comprehensive economic partnership, the world's largest free trade pact.
Conventionally, if you look at the world over, the biggest exporting countries have at least 20 to 30% of their exports from the neighboring regional area. India has most of its exports to the west, which is far away. And that is why India needs to recalibrate and start exporting to neighboring countries, and that is why ASEAN becomes very important for India also. The most contentious topics, of course, will be tariffs, because none of the ASEAN countries are very happy about tariffs. Another contentious topic will be rare earths, because America wants the rare earths, and China refuses to budge because it knows rare earths can promote the defense industry, and it does not want more war in this world.
Meanwhile, as other nations rush to take a photo with Trump, the ASEAN snub will be the second this month given by Prime Minister Modi to Trump after he skipped the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, although both leaders have been exchanging calls.
The trade talks can go on and will go on. We just won't have a top-level bilateral meeting between Trump and Modi. Such meetings with Trump can be useful, but the fact that there is not going to be any direct personal meeting between the two does not mean that the commerce ministers and any number of other senior officials cannot continue the negotiations, which are still ongoing.
Amid anticipation of a precursor trade deal or even a visit by Trump to India, the Quad seems to be in cold storage. even as Trump is later scheduled to visit Japan after the ASEAN Summit to meet the new Japanese Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi.
I don't think the Quad is dead. It will take, I think, a resolution of India's indirect support for Russia's war in Ukraine through its imports of Russian fossil fuels to really restore the relationship between the Quad member states, especially here in the US and India, to a more constructive level.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi has signalled hopes for deeper collaboration for ASEAN. But will this be enough given US and China's economic incentives?
So US-China have traditionally been the two pillars, and therefore now as we look at this great power competition increasing in the political space of the Indo-Pacific, ASEAN is at the very heart of this great power competition, and one of the ways in which ASEAN can insulate itself is by diversifying its partnerships. And no other country in the region offers it the kind of space that India offers, both in terms of scale, in terms of its economic dynamism, in terms of the strategic heft that it brings to the table. And I think largely, therefore, what we are witnessing is India making an outreach to ASEAN and ASEAN making an outreach to India. And I think that is why it is critical that we think of India continues to engage with ASEAN, that India continue to build its relationship with ASEAN as it has been doing for the last decade.
With the Prime Minister's strong message for India's Act East ambition, will his virtual address suffice for the global stability India seeks to play a role in? Only time will tell.
All right, moving on. As South Korea braces for a summit that could reshape global trade, all eyes are on Busan, where President Donald Trump and President Xi Jinping are set to meet amid what many call a new Cold War on commerce. This is Trump's first direct face-off with Xi since returning to office. And this time, the rhetoric is sharper, the red lines bolder, and the stakes worthy of a global confrontation. Will Trump's mega trade crusade crush Beijing's defiance? Or will China's rare earths strangle the American supply chain first?
While President Trump lands in Malaysia for the ASEAN Summit, Busan in South Korea is bracing for the summit of the season.
President, can you talk about what you hope to walk away from with the meeting with President
China?
Xi? Yes. What are you hoping to walk away?
I think a complete deal. I want our farmers to be taken care of, and he wants things also. We're going to be talking about fentanyl, of course. You know, fentanyl is killing a lot of people. It comes from China. And we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about a lot of things. I think we have a really good chance of making a very comprehensive deal.
One can never be sure with President Trump, but he clearly has a huge interest in getting a resolution of China's rare earth and the precious minerals, a near export ban. This would be devastating for a large part of U.S. industry. So I fully expect that these negotiations with China will continue intensely, possibly with meetings of Xi Jinping and Trump, and that neither the 100% tariffs nor the extreme restrictions on rare earth.
In Busan, Trump is expected to land with the ultimatum-laden briefings: 100 to 200% tariffs on Chinese goods, export bans on critical minerals, and talk of penalizing Chinese refineries processing Russian oil.
Of Russian oil with Xi Jinping, are you worried about the Chinese?
I may be discussing it, but you know, China's. I don't know. You probably saw today. China's cutting back very substantially on the purchase of Russia oil. and India is cutting back completely, and we've done sanctions. Thank you very much, everybody.
On the other hand, Chinese President Xi is unmoved and unflinching. He is expected to arrive with rare earth weaponry and a promise China will not bow to coercion.
中美双方就两国元首会晤保持着密切沟通，如有进一步消息，中方将及时发布。
Well, if you're talking about China walking away, yes, they're very, very concerned. They're concerned about the meeting itself. That's why there's been 5 meetings to set this one up. They want to make sure that there isn't some sort of repeat of what happens to Zelensky, or more recently, Kevin Rudd and others who've been subjected to intense humiliation. This would be very, very, very difficult. China has its red lines in terms of they're not going to, as I said, provide rare earths to countries that are overtly threatening it, like the United States. So at this point, there's plenty of room to maneuver. China has more arrows in its quiver. Remember, they have $750 billion worth of U.S. treasuries. They also have a considerable part of the market for certain strategic metals. There's 17 of those. And then you start getting into production of all the kind of chemicals that...
The MAGA doctrine pivots sharply. After imposing tariffs on India earlier this year, Trump is now targeting China's arteries, technology, mining, and energy to curb Beijing's purchase of Russian oil.
What influence do you want China to exert on Russia to stop?
Well, I'd love China to help us out with Russia. We put very big sanctions on Russia. I think those sanctions are going to be, they're very biting, they're very strong. But I'd like to see China help us out. I have a good relationship with, as you know, President Xi. Very good. We're going to be meeting. We'll have a good meeting. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a great meeting, maybe a great meeting. But I think we're going to do some good business. One of the things we'll talk about is the Russia-Ukraine. They're killing 7,000 people a week, soldiers, mostly soldiers, and we'll certainly be talking about that. He'd like to see that end too.
As you say, the reason why the Americans are so focused on China is that the rare earth export restrictions from China are extremely damaging to a wide range of U.S. industry, from microchips to car production. So a deal is really necessary. In addition, the U.S. is, together with Europe, increasing its sanctions on Russia. Europe is withdrawing from its last ports of Russian oil.
Washington's urgency is unmistakable. Recent data shows Chinese export of rare earth magnets fell by 6.1% in September, straining American electric vehicles and defense industries.
Well, I don't know what disputes you're referring to with other economies. There have been some back and forth with the EU, but the EU is also affected by this rare earth issue. Now, China has not cut off rare earths. They've simply made it clear they're not going to allow rare earths to be used in weapons that could be used against China. And I think any country would do the same. In terms of civilian use, they made it very clear that it'd be registered. What they don't want is people ordering for civilian use and then converting it to military use. In terms of how effective this has been, well, you can see quite clearly that Donald Trump is concerned. He made a meeting with Australia, which has one of the few almost complete abilities to process certain types of rare earths. And he also is now in Malaysia, which coincidentally has the second largest capabilities. Together, they're less than 7% of the world's ability to produce rare earths that are capable of helping in strategic areas. But you see Trump trying to shore up what he can while China holds the Trump cards.
But it's not just about Beijing or Washington. For India is watching intently from New Delhi. This MAGA hard turn on Beijing's open lanes of opportunities.
America's trade wars with Russia, with China, with India is a complex triangle, I would say. On the one hand, America's trade wars with China are in some ways beneficial to India, because what it does, it moves away supply chains from China. it makes America more dependent and more soft and realize the value and weight of India in the geopolitical Asian theater. So, differences between China and America are to India's benefit. But differences between America and Russia are not to India's benefit, because what is happening is that geopolitically, India is facing a strategic pressure to move away from Russia. That for us is not much of an encouraging news. However, India might go along with the reality of the world, but the trade war between America and Russia is not net positive for India, but a trade war between America and China can be said to be a net positive for India.
From Delhi to Washington, diplomats read the real message behind Trump-Xi bilateral. This is not a detente, it's decoupling management.
If the US and China fail to reach a deal, the ripple effects of that for India would be net positive, if I could say, in terms of geostrategic objectives, in terms of trade, because more American companies will want to or need to move out of China, more supply chains will relocate in India, more AI electronic investments and trade in India with the US, the scope will improve. The downside is that the overall world markets will be volatile, because if a US-China trade war goes on, it could have impact on multiple things, including, once again, China blocking exports of some key materials like rare earths again, or America preventing flow of chips. These are matters which could upset the world markets, including the energy markets. So the world will be a more volatile world if no deal is reached between America and China. But India would have quite a few opportunities, but India will have to move fast, very fast, to capture or shape those opportunities.
Interestingly, the summit comes just days after China released its 5-year new economic plan.
我国具备主动运筹国际空间、塑造外部环境的诸多有利因素。同时呢，世界变乱交织、动荡加剧，大国博弈更加复杂激烈，外部环境的不确定、不稳定性上升，风险挑战增多。但危中有机，危可转机，我们要发扬历时主动精神，克难关、战风险。
In Busan, two titans will meet, not as partners, but rivals bound by necessity. One wields tariffs, the other critical minerals. Between them lies the fate of global trade and Asia's century.
I have a good relationship with, as you know, President Xi. Very good. We're going to be meeting. We'll have a good meeting. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a great meeting, maybe a great meeting. But I think we're going to do some good business. One of the things we'll talk about is the Russia-Ukraine. They're killing 7,000 people a week, soldiers, mostly soldiers, and we'll certainly be talking about that. He'd like to see that end too.
Will this be the deal that defines the decade, or the spark that lights a new Cold War?
This is all we could pack for you in this edition of Looking Forward. Have a great week ahead beginning Monday. And of course, at 8 p.m. Super Prime Time Max tomorrow, join in with Arnav Goswami on The Debate. Thanks for watching.